Okay, Emor, we'll talk about Emor. This is the Emor's halachas that belong to Kahanim, and it's also Yontif. And we'll talk about what the yichusim we have in that. Anyway, the first din in Emor LaKayanim, so the din is it's Emor ve'amarto l'hazer ha'ktanim ha'gdolim al-ha'ktanim, to warn up the big guys that they have to take sure that the little guys do the right thing. So l'hazer ha'gdolim al-ha'ktanim. So the kasha is, the Rashiva is one that really asked it, that not Emor and not Yomarta is talking to Ketana, is talking about Gedolim. Emor HaKoyanim v'Yomarta Aleihem. Right? So what's it got to do with Ketanim? So how do you learn out from here, L'haza Gedolim Ketanim? So he said, she said that if he tells somebody twice to watch something, he's going to do it with more hearers, more watching. That's going to affect the kids. The kids will do it. Now, as a guy, this I remember as a kid, I'm sure a lot of people remember this. When he came Yiskel, a guy, the mailman, would stop on Yontif. Yiskel's only on Yontif. Would stop right in front of the shul, right in to say Yiskel. I'm going to say, what are you, you're Shegitz, you're Michal Shabbos, you're Michal Yontif. Why you can't say Yiskel? What's bothering you there? My father said Yiskel. My father cared about it. So in other words, what you saw your father do, that's what you do. So that's what it has an effect. Then you have a din, which we have to understand a little bit. It says a person is allowed to be metamer himself l'sheiroi hakorev elov, his wife, l'imoi, l'aviv, l'vnoi, l'vitoi, l'ochiv, right? L'achoisei hapsula. So the sister, that's a psula. That means even if she's married to a Kohen, he can't be metamer himself to her. In other words, like this, normally you would say, like you have by Truma. If a woman marries a Yisrael, she's a Bas Kohen, all of a sudden she can't eat Truma. She gets divorced without children, or without children, she can go back to her father's Truma, not to her Truma. The father has to support her, so the father can feed her Truma. So it's something for the father, but she has kids, she can't do anymore. For the thing there. She marries a Kohen, though, of course she eats Truma all the time, because she's eating, say, Truma from as a Kehenis, and say, eating all her husband, so to be sure she didn't do it. And over here, when it comes to Tumah, it seems to be that there's no obligation on his part. Now, with the Psita Hapsula, that's the thing, so, meaning even if she's divorced, she doesn't have a husband anymore. So the husband doesn't have, or an almana, where the husband doesn't have to bury her anymore. She has no children. So who's the one that's going to bury her now? The brother can't. It says only l'chayis hapsula. So the father goes back to the father. That's the bury it. It'll become, if there's no fathers, no children, and whatever it is, it's going to become a mes mitzvah. Whatever it is, it is. So whatever it is, no one else is mechuyev to do it. We have such a thing of proving it. The Rabbeinu Tam, what he called, he came to the levaya of his sister, but she was married. So he says he's not an oinan, because there's no chiyuv kvura on him. She has a husband. The one that has to bury her is the husband, not the brother. If that's the case, he ate basa v'yayin before the kvura to show that he's not an oinan. That's the point. Oinan is also a basa v'yayin. So to show that he's not an oinan. Important thing. Okay. the question here, I don't remember what I said. So it says by bas ish kohen that she's mezaneh. So the din is instead of chenek she gets schreifa. Now why? Because the Sovihi Michalalas. Now somehow it brings a bezoyan that people who say bad about the father because the daughter. Look what he raised. Look what he did. So it comes out of Hil Hashem, or Chil of the Kahuna, that you're able to do it, and for that comes a bigger einish on the thing there. And I felt that I don't remember what the dimmer was. The Miriam Bas Bilke. The Miriam Bas Bilke was in the time of the Chashmonoim, and she was married to a Greek. That means so she was mezaneh. I mean, there's no marriage for a Greek, so she's married to a Greek, right? So she came into the Beis Hamikdash, and she banged on the Mizbeach. Lucas, you took it. Look at how many behemoths you took away for Klal Yisrael. How many animals you ate, and the thing that you have no rachmanis for Klal Yisrael. And for that, they kicked out the family of Bilke. Is one of the 24 nishmores that they come out, that they always started in the left and the door or whatever. It's not in Mizrach. They made onshim to them, whatever. Because he got punished, the next guy got the same thing. But actually, I don't remember what all the things the Gemara says about him. Why? Because what a person says, and if a kid says in the street, you learn in the house. The first guy she had, that's probably not true. I mean, first of all, she's married a Greek, so obviously she doesn't think too highly of the Jews in the first place. I mean, she has to justify herself that why she married a Greek. So obviously she's looking for complaints, and maybe she heard it by the Greeks, right? So I tell you that what shot is, if she would have just some say, you're what do you call it? You're not doing anything. What kind of God are you? Or something like that. Okay, I hear. But you're kiting on the Mizbeach that it took away the money from the Jew. If you're a Greek, what do you care if they took away the money from the Jew? If they're starving. All of us, you're speaking like a Jew. You happen to be married to a Greek, but you're a Jew. Where do you hear things that are for the Jew? Only in the house. Right? That means they heard the parents complain about the Mizbeach having too many korbanos, the people are not having what to eat and stuff like that. And that's why it comes to the Yanish. But I said, I don't remember what I had the dimmy between this and this case. Okay.
Nowadays the kids hear so much stuff from the street. Nowadays...
You're right. So hopefully God will be good to us. That's all I can say. There's no question about it. That's why you got to get there first. You got to speak to the kids before the street hits them. Because once the street hits them, they'll think you're full of baloney. Yeah. Then it talks about the Kohen Gadol. And the Kohen Gadol, it says, Isha b'psula yukach. He has to take a psula. And what it means by a psula means a psula, but it's full psulim. If he's mutter in a katana or not. If he's mutter in a katana. But a bagras shunat. That means she has to be a girl till 12 and a half years old maximum. In other words, but you start at 12, or you start at 1 or 0, that I don't know. That could be a machlekes in the Gemara. If a katana is also good. But the Maisa, Isha b'psuleh, she has to have the full psul in the thing over there. That means she's a young kid, right? And we're talking about a Kohen Gadol who at least, according to Rabbi Yehuda, has to get married every year to a new wife. to another wife. Why? Because he has to have v'chipa ba'adoi v'ad beisai. Beisai is a wishtoi, and the idea is one wife may die, so he has to have at least 2 wives. And that's the thing, though. Why you're not close for 3 wives? Anyway, but 2 wives is the thing there. So he has to marry sometimes a psula. And how old is really a Kohen Gadol? 100 years old, probably. You take the biggest Kohen, the oldest Kohen, the Mahudadika Kohen, whatever you want to call him. And he's the Kohen that marries her. This Nisa, the Mansfei Salova Satzmeya. You're not allowed to marry a young girl to an old man. It's a Nisa, it's Geirem Znus. So what is this? So from here, I want to tell you what the Rebbein Shem does a tremendousness. A Kohen Gadol has to be bigger from all the other Kehanim in 5 things. And a Melech has to be member of all of Klal Yisrael in 5 things. So what are the 5 things? You have to be the tallest, the strongest, the handsomest, the smartest, and the richest. That's what you have to do. The richest says that all the Ghanim chip in and make them the richest. That's an easy one. But how do you get the other things? Right? You think, oh, okay. So Pshat is, a guy gets elected. So what guy gets elected, so his automatically what happens is oh boy, I had it moved before. Which gland? Pituitary. Good. The pituitary gland starts to act up, and all of a sudden he grows again. And all of a sudden he goes till he's the tallest, and it stops again. Because it changes his cheekbones, it changes his things, makes his muscles come out, and the thing is, he's the strongest, he's the handsomest, and he is the tallest, and what else do we say? Smartest, and the smartest he's got to be. So we picked really the smartest Kohen. And you'll say, that's impossible. So I'm telling you, I know of such a case, okay? That a guy was a handsome man when he got married, and then something happened. He got they give it a name. It's called a disease, but it really was a reactivation of the pituitary gland, and it made him into an ugly man. And the thing they had moved the cheekbones, and moved the jaw, moved the what he called into a way that the other thing did. So it does happen. And this was the tallest man. I remember once reading that in China they had an 8-footer or an 8.5-footer or something like that. He couldn't walk. He had to lay on the ground. Couldn't walk. The feet couldn't support him in the thing over there. So anyway, but the mice is, so this is the nest, and this is the thing, what happens by the melech also. Okay, the king also this happens to, if he happens to be a shrimp. Does it work on a melech ben melech? I can't answer that. By Kohen Gadol ben Kohen Gadol, I assume it does happen, because they still the Kohen Gadol with the same rules that he has to issue with psulah dikach. A melech doesn't have that requirement of who to marry. The only difference is that a melech, to be melech, has to have all these things. But could be once you're the son of a melech, so it's automatically al shirusha, not al because I'm worthy of being a melech. Maybe it's not so. I don't know. I can't answer that. It's not negeya though. But it'll explain a thing in Shmuel. When David came to fight Goliath, so Shaul Melech offered him his armor, And it says when he put it on him, he saw that the shawl had a kapeta, so he rejected it. He didn't take it. So Rashi learns what was the kapeta. When David saw that the armor shrunk to fit David, so then he felt there's a competition to him. And I said, that's what you see from there. He's smaller than David and Shaul. He's not a competition to Shaul. Shaul is they know everybody in Klal Yisrael. Who's this guy? Shrimp here. Who cares? He cares. He's not a melech. Nothing over there. So, like I said, if Rashi would have learned that he grew into the armor, all of a sudden, now the show got angry, got upset, because now I got a guy as big as me. Now I have a guy that's in competition to me. But that he shrunk, that the armor shrunk, that was a funny thing. So, I don't know.
Was David not already anointed? I thought he was already.
David,
I thought was already anointed. He was already a head, shoulder.
Not at that time.
Not at that time.
No, not before. And one of the things that upset him is when he came back after that. They said the David that is 10,000, no, and the Shaul was thousands. David is 10,000. So anyway, but that was the kin he had. But
according to Yehuda, every year he needs to marry a Basul, so every year the pituitary gland has to kick in again?
I don't think so. Probably if he has 2 wives, he probably can keep the same 2 wives. But it means to say that he always has to have 2 wives, at least. Okay. Yeah. The Indian of a Baal Mum, you read this, and so, all the people who are Baalei Mum will go on strike, right? The Torah is bigoted to a Baal Mum, right? You can't do Avodah, you can't do this, that. In subways we put a special ramps, we put escalators, you have to put, any new construction has to have an elevator, right, for people who can't walk, right? So you see, we care about people who are, what do you call it? Disabled, right? We hear about them. So how come the Torah says, no, kick them out? So I came up with this answer. I don't believe the Torah is bigoted, not against women, not against the thing there. So I have to learn different pshatim. That's what I did. So what pshat? Why is he's bigoted against the Yisraelim? Why are you picking on Kohanim? Why don't we put up a sign and look in a picket line? Kohanim, I'm fair to Klal Yisrael. I mean, they got special rules, they got special things, they can eat special things. God's taking care of them. Hey, what kind of business is this, right? Why aren't we in what they think? Somehow we don't think that that's a time. So then look at the Baal Mum that way also. What the Rebbeinu Shem is doing is saying, I want to exclude this guy from my avodah. So I made him a Baal Mum. I'm still doing better than Yisrael. Yisrael, he's excluded, his children are excluded, and all the things. This Baal Mum, his children can still be Kohanim. So therefore, I only want him out of the picture. For whatever reason, that could be Mitchilas, the birth, like it doesn't have to do with Onshim. It has to do with Stam of Mazel, whatever that means. But not everybody is able to do the avodah, not everybody is able to be rich, not everything there. So I can't answer why, but I don't think it's a bigotry. Yeah. the Bas Koyin Kisiyena Lizo, so it says so she eats, so it can't eat Trum anymore. She can't eat the thing, Dorten. And but she's Amone, Grusha, and she doesn't have any children, she can go back to her father, to father's food. Doesn't say her food, her father's food. That means, as originally she's eating as her food. She's entitled to eat Truma as a Kohenis, whatever that means. Aber once she comes back, the heter is because of the father. As lechem el aviyah, she eats. So it's not what's like an Eved. An Eved can eat Truma, not because he's holier than anybody else, but he belongs to a Kohen, and the Kohen we don't require him to spend any money except Truma. Now that's the money he has. That's how he gets it. He can give his avodim that because that's what he needs. So he can feed his daughter that way too. What I want to say here, I remember. Let's see. Yeah. So we're going to have at the end of the Seder a story between a Ben Yisraeli and the Ben Ish Mitzri. And his mother's name is Shlima. And he cursed, they had it in Torah, and the Ben Ish Mitzri cursed Hashem. Now, we're going to talk about that he's a special person, this Ben Ish Mitzri. He's not a guy. What do you call it? Okay. So Shlomis Bastivri, the Medrash, was married to Dosa. Okay. And the Dintera was that he wanted to put since he's the mother of Shlomis Bastivri Mimat V'shit Meishevet Don. So therefore, he wanted to put his join the Machnadon. Why? Because when you join, normally you go after Toldoisim the Beis Avaisim. You go after the fathers and shave it. What happens if you don't have a father shave it? Because a guy. So then you go after the mother shave it. So he had a good taina. He came to Don, and the guys from Don kicked them out. Now the shaila is, remember, by Dawson, by Kairach, this is 40 years later. By Kairach happened in the first year, or the second, right? So what happened by Kairach? All the children of Dawson and Aviram died. Right? Eshtam, Tapam, whatever it is. But not the Ben Ish Mitzri. The Ben Ish Mitzri was not on their side. He knew that Moshe was right, and he didn't go with Dosan, even though he was a stepfather, or whatever you want to call him. See what the mice is there. Okay. This is the thing. And there's also time of why they didn't put in for to be Kohen. I mean, you find off the 150, what do you call it, what do you do, what was it, 250, that the Maktir Akteris and stuff like that, right? Why wasn't Dosan Aviram killed there? Kairach was, but not Dosan Aviram, because Dosan Aviram never applied to the Kunigdema. And why not? So I think is because of this Maisa. By Kohen, even if, let's say, a guy's married to a woman's married to Yisrael, and the Vikings attacked, and they rape everybody, right? Wife's kosher to Yisrael, the wife. but a kehenis, krakim b'le'ir, kol a kehenis shebe'ir apostle. Right? So therefore, it doesn't make a difference if it was b'shus or by accident or whatever it is, almost. But if there was a bias isser done to her, she's postal kahuna. Okay. So therefore, and what happened here, and that's, I'll explain that in a minute also. Try to figure what I just said. I'm going to explain also.
That's what Emor didn't want to apply for Kahuna because the Maisa wife would be puzzled to him.
Oh, the Maisa, what happened over there? Yeah, the Maisa that happened. What happened was, it says, what he called, Rashi says that there was only one Mezayna in Klal Yisrael, and that was Shleimus Bas Divri, and that's why she's pointed out. There's no one else. So I always had a kasha, why do you have Memte Sharit Tumah? You know, it's, the Jews were murderers. Chas v'chayil. So it's Memches. The Jews, they commit adultery. Mem Zayin. So why you say Memtes? So I said the reason it says Memtes is because they didn't have the Messiah. So each one tried to solve the problem their way. And I said, so I'm going to give you the mushal, how that happened here and why it was no good. She was raped. She wasn't, I don't know if she was raped in the sense that he forced her. She didn't know he was a guy. In other words, he was beating up Dasan. Now that's what Moshe caught him and killed him that time. But what he was trying to get rid of Dasan is because he wanted Shleimus Bas Divri. He wanted it, and he's the husband. He came home one time after putting some work on him that he couldn't come home, and it's very, very nice now. We can see everything in the dark, right? Because what do they call it? They call it light. When something is polluted, light pollution, right? Light pollution, right? So therefore, there's a lot of light. There's two places in the United States, I think, that there's pure dark. That you can actually have pure dark again. That you know what the dark is. But otherwise, there's no place in the world, in the United States anyway, there's darkness. So it's called light pollution. So you can always see something. Always think this. And the truth is, if there be no moon, or it's a cloudy night, right, and you have no lights, right, and no candles, it's dark. You can't see who's talking there. You can't see. That's the point of what happened. So that time, so she didn't know who was there. She thought it was her husband, and she therefore lived with him. And then happened to be it was the Mitzri. Okay. So why is she getting blamed for it? So I'm saying the reason she got blamed for it is this. I don't know the case. This is like, I'm giving you a hechatim to how it could have happened, like a fiction if you want. Okay. In America, you pass a hard hat area, and obviously they whistle and they call out dirty names to any girl that walks past. So it's embarrassing. It's Felzach. Right? This is the Mitzrayim heartbound area. So she says, I want them to stop. I got to go by here every day. I can't take this that they keep, saying all these dirty things there. I'm going to make them my friends. So she comes the next day, and she says to them, hi boys, would you like some coffee? Would you like some soda? Would you like something to drink? And they all give him, and they start thinking to themselves, especially the Mitzri, who he was, who knows, maybe he was like the head of him or something, I don't know. He starts thinking why is she being so nice to us? We were pretty embarrassing to her yesterday. Elava, she must be coming on to us. She likes the attention. She likes the things. So therefore, he felt she was inviting him to our house, and that's the thing over there. So that's the thing that happens. In other words, the whole tragedy happened because she put upon herself a way that she thought is the best way to solve the problem. She should have asked. She should have had order. Should be Messiah. What do you do in such a case? I don't know what to do either. So that's how she became the over there, the Ben Amitzi. Now the kasha is, why doesn't she belong? Why doesn't the Ben Amitzi belong to Don? Because she's married to Dosa, right? She's married to Reuven, Shevet Reuven. That any kid that's born is going to belong to Shevet Reuven. So she, by being married to out of her Shevet, she becomes the conduit for that Shevet she's married into. So she's out of Don now. It's not she remains with Don. Her children are not Don anymore. Her children are Reuven, right? But they're only Reuven if they come from Reuven, from Dosan. But if it doesn't come from Dosan, comes from someone that's completely illegal, so then it has no sheikhus to Reuven, it has no sheikhus to Don. So therefore he doesn't belong in Don's mach. And that was what his mistake was. Okay.
So why didn't Aviram try to get the Kohen?
What? Oh, so I was saying, so therefore, so Dosan didn't apply for the Kohen because his wife, he was puzzled for Kohen if he wants to keep his wife. If he wants to give up his wife, it's sort of dangerous. If he wants to keep his wife, he's puzzled for Kohen. Okay? So that's it. So why not Aviram? I said, Aviram, my older brother doesn't try out. How am I going to try out? So therefore, he's not the same. That's why Dosan Aviram didn't try out for the Kohen. Because they didn't fit. Okay.
What would have been so terrible if she?
I'm sorry?
What would have been so terrible if he would have stayed in Dun? Why did they have to be Merachik him?
Who? The Italy?
Yeah.
That's a good kashi. That I don't know. I can't answer you. Or they're bigoted. What am I going to tell you? I mean, you can't just come into our town. Then you're a Gary, or you're not a Gary. You're a Jew. I don't know what you are. You're not part of us. That's for sure. It's a good question, and then that I don't know. And those statements, it just says that there was a dentera, and that was the dentera, and he lost it. In other words, didn't say, they tell him, what's out you keep? That sounds more like the Rebbe. But it's not a dentera, though, Okay, can I say? I don't know.
Where did man come to?
Who?
Man. Where was his man? Where did man fell for him? For his mitzvah. Where is man? Man fell.
Where's Man?
Yeah, I mean, if they will show the way.
I have no idea. I don't know how long he stood by Bodon. I don't know what the thing there.
The man should show the way where it belongs to.
Good question. I don't know. So we have kashas on the story, or kashas on the story, or the medrash of the man, where the man fell. I mean, I don't know what kashas they have. Okay. Okay. Then it tells you the din, the decree of Yontif, which Chesed, which is probably the most read parsha on Yontif. Shavuos once, Pesach once, Sukkot twice, so it's 4 times. Okay. So it says a pasuk like this. Vayidaba Hashem al Moshe le'em adaba b'nei Yisrael v'amata aleihem ma yadei Hashem asher tikro oisa mikroi kodesh. These are the Yom Tovim. Elohem oyadoi sheishes yom t'as malacha v'yom hashvi Shabbos 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 6 days of work, but Shabbos it did. And then it says, it becomes a pay, and the Parsha, Elam Oyadei Hashem Mikroi Kodesh, and he starts by Chodesh Rishon and Pesach and so forth. So the question comes, what's Shabbos doing in the Moedays? So here I think you can see something I'm always saying. I'm going to give you a shtickle Torah that I thought until I heard the shtickle Torah, which is the Gauze. And once you hear it, it's like, how did you ever think otherwise? That's the kasha. And that's very few times you have such a shtickle Torah like that. I explained it, like when you look at the animamins, it has the borei and the manhig is one animamin. They're two different things. A borei is the guy who makes the machinery, and the manhig is the guy who drives the machinery. Two different things. One other thing, Dalton. So the fact that you're a borei doesn't make you a manhig. Elavos, the Rebbeinu made the world in such a way that by creating it this way, he is the manhig. In other words, chalolim, the whole shiyotza. I have a heart attack on you, a stroke on you, all from the pipes. I just close them up, I put a clot in, and you're finished. That's all. Okay. So that's one thing. And then, of course, he's got the world, how he does it. He has the plates, he has the volcanoes, and all of these things. They change the size, they change the place, they make the waters, they make tsunamis, they make whatever it is. He controls everything through the things that he's made. Okay. And that's why it belongs there. So therefore, so that's my pshat. Okay. Now you listen to the guy and it's unbelievable. He says like this. These are the days, Moed Hashem, that are going to be Mikra Kodesh. These are the Moedim. Of the Yom Tovim, 6 of them Malacha could be done. Which 6? Rosh Hashanah, two Sukkos, 2 Pesach, 1 Shavuos. You cook Eichel Nefesh, you can do it, and we can cook. But Yom HaShvi and Yom Kippur is Shabbos Shabbos. So we're only talking about Yontif here. The 7 days of Yontif, 6 of them are this. And now when are they? I go and I tell you, Pesach, Sרגא, whatever it is, they go into the individual ones. Okay. I say, but that, once you say that pshat, it's like, it's clear. I mean, that's what he says. Why would he even think he's talking about Shabbos? Like, why would you even make such a mistake, So how come he saw it and I didn't? That's what I'm saying, And that's the difference, I think, you see, the gadlus of the goyim, we see it in the goyim more than you talk about Tanoim and Baroim. We don't know what they saw when they look at the pasuk. The goyim, because they wrote down a lot of his stuff. So you have an idea of his gematrias, you have an idea of his Rashi Prokim, like the one thing, all the mitzvahs in the Torah on the first parsha in Chumash. So the guy asked him, where's Pidyon HaBen? Ben, Risha, Nacha, Shleshim, Yom Tifde. Gracious. Okay, who would have thought of that? Right? I'm saying, so somehow when he looked at something, he saw 20 different things. He didn't just see I got a kasha, what does this belong here, there? I never even think about these kashas, never even think they go weiter, and he did, so I can't answer that. On the other hand, I saw by Tanoim, you find The Gemara says only twice, only by two guys, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva, that when they went, they were taught that this is an aleph. They went into, sat down, and they said, why does the aleph look like this? Now, why didn't anybody else think, why does the aleph not look like this? Because I'm taught when I'm 6 years old or 5 years old, I'm taught what an aleph looks like. I don't have any kashes. That's what an aleph looks like. But when I'm 40 years old or I'm 26 years old, they tell me this is what an aleph looks like. I said, why you done an aleph? Why don't you make an aleph looking like this? I mean, you know. So I have to have a reason. So therefore, that's why it may be. So for this no kasha, that's what I'm saying. They have a reason why they. Okay. Yeah, and Shavuos, it puts in matnas aniyim, the end of Shavuos. B'kutzor si'artzechem le'iskal b'asotcha b'kutzrecha v'le'ikitzich le'islakit le'vagir tazvis v'nishevakir. Okay, so Rashi tells us that why that Emor of is this thing there? Yeah, Emor of Avdini v'Rab Yosef. Ma ro'a kosov litnom be'emtzoi ha'regolim. What do you Pesach v'atzeres mikan? Pesach and Shavuos on one side, and Gad Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim, and Sukkot are on the other side, and this is in the middle between them. To tell you that what the Lamdoch shekol hamneisin leket shikhu peyeloni kroyu is malno lo akosev of keilu bona beis hamikdash. He built the beis hamikdash in Burkabonis. If you look up the Sifrei, and whoever's in Vayishu, I don't think it's a Sifrei either, it's a Mechilta, I think. Anyway, if you look up what the darshan over there, it does not say what Rashi says. It says the guy gives matnas aniyim as if Beis Hamikdash is standing and he brought korbanos b'soicha. Doesn't say anything about building it up and being korbanos in. So where does Rashi get this? So I think what Rashi is telling Mechadish, I don't know how he has the kech to Mechadish, that's a different story. But he put a step more than it says in over there. There it says he just gave it. Here it says koroyu. If you give it the right way, is as if you built the Beis Hamikdash in the thing there. You just give it, that's as if the Beis Hamikdash is standing. But if you're giving it the right way, now what do you mean the right way? So there's a Gemara in both Gemaras in Bava Metzia. We learn out Omer B'Tzatzadeyu from Shikra. That the guy, what's the Gemara say? Yeah, Omer B'Tzatzadeyu is Koine from Shikra. What's the Shikra? That the guy, one of the workers, forgot the a bundle. So the thing is. And if the balabos is in the city, in the town, whatever it is in town, so then it b'lai b'shikra. But if the balabos was standing by the field, then he's koinet. Then it's not shikra. Kaish is, what are you talking about? Unless it's shikra, it's still mine. Who on my field? It's mine, right? So what difference does it make, if I notice or not? So I said, so you see from here that it's not yours. It's not your field. It's your field to take first. you didn't take, so then it's not yours yet. I got to take. So the fact that it grew in the field, it doesn't make it mine. That makes the thing there. So therefore I have one, and really, now the aniyim come. They can take it. So now on Daf Yud, it says over there, what is the din for Oni to have dalaramis b'shus chaveroi? In other words, we have two aniyim coming to a field to collect payah, right? And one guy says, I'm here first. I'm in dalaramis. Am I koine with that or not? It's a machlekes in Gemara. But mashma, that is saying that even though it's not his field, right? But since it's not the Yisrael's field either, it was given now, once the Yisrael took his stuff, it now becomes the Aniyim's field. Now it's an Aniyim and nobody else's, then the Alamis fits. The Alamis b'tzidur b'shus harabim is good. You can't have the Alamis b'shus harabim. Why? Because everybody has a right to be there. So you don't have, but here only Aniyim have a right, so therefore I'm the Nani, you're Nani, so then I have a right. That's called Koroyu. You recognize it is not your land. Then it's Kilu, you're going to build a Beis HaMikdash. So that's a Eicha Madrege though. Bingo.
That's the same thing as the Reach Nichayach. The same idea as the Reach Nichayach, the first time in the...
Sorry?
It's the same idea as the Reach Nichayach.
That he doesn't say.
The first time and when...
I hear, but he doesn't say. I can't answer that. Okay, then it gets to Sukkot. And in Sukkot, the first thing is the din of Esrig, lulav and stuff, is here. Not in the Parshas of Musaf, not in the Parshas of any other Parshas there. It's in this Parsha. And then that you have, that you have to bring all these things. V'tachton chebayim rishon, pri eitz hodok, kapis tvorim, Eitzavis v'alvinocha. And then it says, V'sukesh teishu shivas yomim, again, that mitzvah which you don't have anywhere else except here. Right? Ezra v'Yisrael, v'man yedu derei seichem, ki v'sukesh shaftis b'nei Yisrael, v'yitzia yisam eretz Mitzrayim and yishamotecha. So the Gemara has a machlokes. I think it's Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Lezer says it means Anani Yakovit, and Rabbi Akiva says it means Sukkis Mamish. Here, Sai Rashi, Sai Targum. Targum is the Talmud of Rabbi Lezer and Yeshua. So he always avoids this machlekes of what's the Chodesh Arisha. He always avoids that because he can't paskin like Rabbi Shiur or like Rabbi Lezer, because they're both as Rebbeim, so he just leaves it the first month. Here, sometimes he puts down Takeh Banissen, you know. Okay. Here he put it like, and then, Bedin Yedun the Reichen asher b'matlun, matolusa, the matolus bim taloyus, Anone Oisevis Bnei Yisrael Bafakusi. I kept them in the Anani HaKovet. And Rashi says it again also here, Anani HaKovet. Why is he paskening like that? He kept it like Rabbi Lezer, so it's Nikki Kashi, it's must like Rabbi Akiva. But the Maisa, why is they getting involved? Like no mentions there's Rabbi Akiva holds that it means Sukkos Mamish. So I think this is the answer. We got to sit in the Sukkah. Right? A Sukkah without a roof, I don't care if you have big strong walls, it's not very protected. I mean, whatever, it can pour in, it can rain, it can do this. animals could jump in. It's not a very protected place if the thing goes in there. Right? So the whole idea of the sukkah is Pshat is the Benishim is protecting us. We're living in a clumsy house. It really can't protect us. But we don't have to worry because the Benishim is the one that's protecting us. And if that's the case, I can live in a little flimsy house. It doesn't make a difference. Nothing's going to happen to me. And that's the thing. So that's the Anani HaKoved. The fact that they lived in Sukkis Mamish was because there was Anani HaKoved there. In other words, if we wouldn't have had the Anani HaKoved, they would have to live bigger in houses. And then they couldn't live just in huts. About the Anani HaKoved there, that's keeping out all the dangers of the world from them. They can live in just the tznius things. They can live in anything. Anything that has walls, a little roof, that's fine enough. You can't see me, and that's all I need. So Zikr the Anani HaKoved, not the point of the thing. So even the one who sat in the Sukkis is only because of the Anani HaKoved. Now, the other the idea of Torah is the Shem Zayzoch. Rashi both here and in Parshas Tetzaveh write that the mitzvah is an Emor, and yet it says the mitzvah is in Parshas Tetzaveh, right? That's what it says Shem Zayzoch. Is im Says that Tetzaveh to Aaron take Shem Zayzoch lahadlik ne'tamid but it's over there. So why was it necessary to put it over there and not here? Okay, so for that, I learned Pshat over there that Moshe Reuven Feinstein went derech Eretz Plishtim. Did not go derech Eretz Plishtim. Why? Kikoravu, and they'll see a war, they'll go back to Mitzrayim. That's what it says in B'Shalach, right? The truth is, they saw the war within 3 months, within 7 weeks. Why 3 months? Right? Before Shavuos, they saw Amalek, Milchamas Amalek, right? And so they saw the Amalek, and they didn't go back to Mitzrayim. So the fact that if they go 2 weeks earlier, they will go back. That time they're more hipped up that that God's with us or whatever it is there. So what was your problem? And so I wanted to, that really it means not that they'll see a war. They weren't afraid of a war. But one of the Loshenis Chamushim Olu Me'eretz Mitzrayim means they came up armed. No, they're not just the fifth, they were armed. That means they were looking for trouble. In other words, they give a little kid, he's a big shot already, even though he just became he's Evid, but he's a big shot. Come on, start up with me. I want to see you start up with me. And they were armed, so that was God's with us. So so Pshat is they'll go Takeh, and they're ready to attack Eretz Plishtim. And Eretz Plishtim comes out with a big army against them, and the Benishim says to them, guys, there's a shvur between Avram and Avimelech, Lenini, Lenechdi, and he's still alive. And this Nechdi business, I don't know, the guy lived in North for a long time. It was around even by David HaMelech's time. When Yerushalayim, they couldn't take it. What he called. So I don't know what it means, but he was around for this. So therefore, you have to believe, we can't attack. We got to go around. So what's with the reaction? The reason you're making us go around is because you can't do it. If you're able to do it, you would have wiped them out. You can't do it. We have the same thing happening by Edom, the end of the 40 years. They come to Edom, and eventually you can't attack Edom. You got to go around Edom. So that's after 40 years in the Midbar. So they saw all the nisim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu day in and day out and everything else. So they knew the Benishim could do it. So the only thing is, the Rebbeinu says we can't do it because we're not allowed to do it, or whatever it is, or it belongs to them, or whatever it is. So we're not entitled. But when they first went out, that they weren't yet sure how the keches are kodesh baruch hu. But they wanted time. Okay. Now, so therefore, since the Rebbeinu Shem had this fear, so Moshe Rabbeinu was worried that when he gave the Torah, that who's going to explain the Torah? Yisrael and what he called Mishpat and talking about the Kabbalah's Torah. Who's going to be the explainer of the Torah? He's going to be the guy gives a shiur. The guy gives you ever hear Rebbe sometimes do this? This is what shiur is. You know how to do this. But you hear the kasha? Kid says, no. I'll tell you again. You hear the kasha? Okay. After a while, the kippur gets stiff. Says, oh yeah, I hear the kasha. Okay. And then the Rebbe gives the teretz. For Zashvere kasha, that's a teretz? Alone. Right? If you wouldn't have shepherded it, the guy wouldn't have a problem, he wouldn't have a kasha. But now I'm forcing you, I want to show you my Torah. So what am I doing? So I'm forcing you to be magish the kasha, and now I hope I'm going to get rid of your Torah, your kasha. And the guy don't hold it a Torah, so it's coming down. That's the point of Shemas Hayizoch. Shemas Hayizoch is that it's pure to start with. You don't take out the shmorim. Once the shmorim go in, it's a question if you can get them out. So every time there has to be, when you teach Torah, it's going to be a difficult thing to grasp. You can't bring them into the shaila of grasping. You got to be sure that your tablets that you're going to give, by giving the kasha, oh, you think there's a thing there? There's a pshat, right? Okay, you better be sure your pshat is great. You think everyone can understand it. Not just that, you're picking your tablets. And whatever it is there, like we showed you with Shabbos or with Psula Yikach, with Psula Yikach. In other words, we have a pretty things that you're building up. Like you guys say, what are you, crazy? That's what happened to every Kohen Gadol. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's what happened to every Kohen Gadol. That's what it says in the Torah. Okay, I have a kasha at the Torah, so they give an answer. The guy can accept it. Not a shver chais, but certain things he can't accept. So that's the point I was telling you. So now what happens if you have such a kasha? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to get the guy's thoughts to move away from? So sometimes you go like this. I give a teretz for something over there. And I say, with that teretz, we can answer this kasha. Now, if I didn't make any big deal about it, the guy, till he comes to learn and say, how did he answer the kasha with this teretz? That time he ain't going to get no big kashas, like, oh, what is thing there? It was really a teretz over there. He gave it this way, so made it a little bit that he has to think that he could answer it. He'll fake it to himself, fool himself. It doesn't make a difference. But if you tell him, this is the teretz, this is godless, then that's the teretz. I don't see it. And you can't do it. So it depends how you tell it. And there's one more point. Before they killed the Mekigadif, he told them, Mak'odem Yumos, Mak'behem Yishalmena. He says, what has this got to do with the Megadif? All he had to do was say, give him skila. He told him that, and then take him out. It says, say, by the Shabbos, by the Kodesh Seitzin. That's what it says. They asked him, he says, Chayim. He said, took him out and killed him. That's what it should have said here. He said, the Shiva said, one of the lessons to a dayan. A dayan, you're going to sit on the Parshas. You have to first understand what it means to kill somebody. To kill somebody, you chayiv misa. And yet you're going to paskin up that we have to kill this guy. That means we are doing something that's chayiv misa because it's more important what we're doing because that's what the bench is mitzvah. And that's the case. So your guy has to feel that responsibility. They used to say, this I remember in court martials, so he goes the firing squad. The court martials, they said, it depended on the what mood the general was in. Who was the presiding judge, he was in a bad mood, the guy was dead. It was nothing to do with it. They didn't care about life and death. Especially soldiers don't care about life and death. And this thing like that, it's one of the things that we ask, that we shouldn't be poisoned by that ability of killing people that they have. But obviously a guy shoots everyone down, and the only thing that can sometimes make you not know that you're able to do that is you think there's a reset button. And therefore you pull the button this way and have all the guys back up again. Now you can shoot them down again, right? But it's not real. You didn't kill anybody. Because you can't take it that you killed 50 people with not doing anything. The guys who blew up Hiroshima, so they were questioned if they went nuts and everything. The one who made the atom bomb, Oppenheimer, became a peacenik after the war. Why? Because that's what he killed so many people at one time. You can't take that achrayus on himself. I think this. So that's important. But an individual, since you've been killing people, they used to have in the army, they would go, especially in China, there's a lot of people. So they would say, you see that person over there? I bet you can't hit him. Right? $10 if you kill him. If you shoot whatever, you hit him. And stuff like that, because lives meant nothing. And unfortunately, because you're in the army, life doesn't mean anything. That's all. And that's what we always pray for. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, everybody. Shabbos.
Shabbos. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Gillian actually found the medrash on